There's something called book value of assets or liabilities or equity, and there's something known as market value of assets or liabilities or equity. What's the difference? Where do we see book values? In the balance sheet. Everything in any balance sheet is the book value of all assets, liabilities, and equity. This is also known as historical costs, which means it's not necessarily the value of assets, liabilities, and equity in today's market. In other words, when you look at equity in a balance sheet, you see some dollar amount. But that doesn't mean that that's how much all shares of stock are currently worth today. This is just their historical cost based on the price per share when the shares were sold originally in the primary market. So maybe originally each share sold for $80 and the firm has 10,000 shares. Then what you would see in the firm's balance sheet for the year of the shares issue, the year after, 2 years after, and today, you would see $800,000, kind of the same number. It will only change if the firm decides to either sell additional shares, then this number would go up, or maybe if it decides to buy back some of its shares, then this total amount will go down. But otherwise, if none of those are happening, then the balance sheet would keep showing $800,000 year after year after year. However, the market value of shares of stock may be changing dramatically over time if shares go up in price. So market value is kind of the true value today, how much you can sell a share for or some asset for, right? Remember, it's not all about equity in my example. It could also be for assets or liabilities. For example, what's the book value of a building that was purchased 5 years ago? It's whatever remaining, whatever value is remaining, and accountants will tell you exactly what the remaining book value is for a building purchased 5 years ago, right? Buildings, deteriorate. They lose their, they lose their original sort of quality, income producing ability. So the book value goes down over time. But maybe the market value of a building has gone up since the building was purchased. And that's because we are currently maybe experiencing a real estate boom, right? So the market value and the book value do not need to match. They can be very different and have different trends. And so in this little example, I'm again looking at equity, shares of stock. So let's say historically shares were sold for $80 each, but now you can sell each share for $95. This means that if the firm has a total of 10,000 shares, then the total market value of the firm's equity will equal $950,000. So see how it's a much larger number than the book value of only $800,000. In this table, I show a balance sheet with current and fixed assets as well as liabilities and equity. And the second column on each side is the market values of each item. So when you look at book values, that's what you see in a balance sheet. And if you also compare with the market values that are probably known for a lot of items, that combination of book values and market values can give you a much, larger insight into what's going on with this company. So for example, you can look at equity, right? And see that the book value is 600, but the market value is 1100. So it's almost double, right? What could have caused such dramatic difference between the book value of stock shares and their market value. 600 reflects the historical value of all shares when they were sold for the first time. The market value is how much they're worth today, right? So since these shares of stock were originally issued, the company has improved significantly in the financial point of view. So it has become a lot more profitable, right?